Hey, what's up, Power Life family? It is Malcolm coming live from my apartment. Welcome. Tried to get a nice, pretty angle for you, and my cat might join us at some point. Who knows? Cool. I just have a couple how-to tips for you guys. I know some of you guys are spending a lot more time at home, maybe with your kiddos, or maybe you're spending more time watching others people's kids while you are spending more time at home. So I want to give you guys some tips on how to bring your yoga practice to kids. Cool. So I have 3 tips for you. We're going to start with tip number 1. So tip number 1 is I always like to let kids in particular, to know that they can own their space and bodies in this practice. This is like the one time that they get to be the boss of what is going on and what they choose to do. So with that, given that they are kids, I like to give them some parameters of what they can do. So maybe that's like, you can do what I do, or you can do something slightly different like this, or maybe you choose just to sit on your mat and watch. Biggest thing with that, this may not be as big of a deal in your space, whether you have a mat or you have kids use a beach towel or something else. I really like to start off a practice with having kids trace their space, especially if you have multiple kids practicing together, so they know to be respectful of their practice and not impede on anyone else's. So I always have them take their finger and start on one corner of their mat and then trace it all the way over and then all the way back, and even have them move their bodies around as they trace every single inch of their mat all the way across the backside and then all the way back to the front of their mats. And I just like emphasize, like, notice how much space you have to do what you want to do that feels good in your body, and then without having to like affect others in a way that may not help them feel what they want in their bodies. So space, super important. Tip number 2. I really want kids to know that they can make this practice what they want. So especially given that you probably want to get your yoga practice in and not completely cater to doing kids yoga all the time, know that you can let your kids kind of call the postures what they want. That kind of gives them more buy-in, on like what they're actually doing in class. So maybe as you're doing one of our guided classes on YouTube, you just let them kind of call it what they want. Maybe they're in star pose, and instead of calling it star pose, they want it to be starfish, or they want it to be snowflake. Maybe when you're doing eagle, they want to call it parrot, or they want to call it pterodactyl. Let them have fun with it, and that might just let them know that, like, hey, you can call this posture what you want. You can still get all the benefits from that part of your practice. Yeah, that's a good way to just kind of get your kids to kind of do what you're doing. So maybe you're doing this really hard balance. You're doing a hot yoga class, and they're like, what are you doing, Mom? What are you doing, Dad? I want to join too. Hey, show me pterodactyl. Let's do it together. And then you guys can kind of practice holding it. Kids love balance. They really, really do. So, yeah. Tip number 3, finish us off. Kind of with that, so you can kind of help kids kind of buy into the practice that you're doing, or just kind of learn the postures that you know. I love to empower kids to activate their imagination throughout a kids yoga class. So they're not just bound to the postures that we know and we call cat, cow, eagle, all of those. I love to like ask kids, hey, what's your favorite animal? What did you see on our drive today to go get groceries? Who's your favorite character in this movie that we saw? Like, what's like an image that you really liked? Let's make a yoga posture out of that. One of the kids that I've actually taught kids yoga to was like, hey, I love frogs. And I could have totally just been like, hey, let me show you what frog pose looks like. I don't think kids really like to sit in frog pose. So I'm like, hey, show me what frog looks like. And so he kind of just gets up on his mat and he like crouches down like a frog. And then he starts hopping around. So like that's like super fun. Kids just want to have fun with their practice. And then I even like to take that further, because yoga is a lot more than just our physical movement. So as kids can create postures, they also can create pranayama, or breath. So I even asked the same kid, like, so how do frogs breathe? Can you teach me how to breathe like a frog? And so he guided me through it, and it's kind of cool just to give kids that autonomy to like lead you and teach you something. So to give you an example you can try with your kids, he said, breathe in, and then breathe out. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. So it's just kind of fun. They can pair breath work to postures and just have a good time. Know that kids yoga is all about bringing the practice to them, bringing some of the principles that we learn in our body and our awareness through yoga, but also just to activate their imagination. know that you can make it as immersive as you want. So maybe you even have them do some arts and crafts and they create this whole scenery that's like a SeaWorld or outer space or going to the zoo. And then you guys can actually take the time together to practice a yoga flow or just to come up with postures and then practice those and breath work together. So yeah, I hope that gives you guys some ideas on how to bring yoga to your kids. If you try anything at home that you think will be super awesome for us to try here at Power Life or for other people to try in their homes with their kids, please comment below and let us know. Yeah, maybe send us in some videos or some examples of your kids doing yoga. We want to keep the fire in this community alive. So thanks for being here, guys. Thank you.